Just when we thought that the Premier League was the most vicious when it came to short-termism as a vis-a-vis managers, up comes the Championship today, and pretty savage. Henning Berg, leaving as Blackburn manager, sacked after just 10 games in charge and 57 days. And then, of course, there's Shaun, who went as manager of Nottingham Forest, and he was in charge for, not many more, 26 games, something like that. I mean, just when we thought we'd seen the end of these kind of thing, it strikes us with a vengeance. Right, let's have a look at Henning Berg's record. It doesn't go on for very long, I'll put it that way. It was 10 games long, 57 days, 1 win, 3 draws and 6 defeats, which even I can works out as a 10% win ratio. Even though it was poor, Stewart, that's not really enough time, is it?
It's not enough time, and then you have to start blaming the people that are appointing the managers. You know, it can't always be the manager's fault. Obviously, the players haven't responded to the manager, but he was given the job on the basis of what? That he worked quite well in Norway, that he was an ex-player of Blackburn. Had they really done their homework? Because if you make such a bad decision, usually it's the chief executive that should be blamed in normal business. You know, if you keep making the wrong decision, you keep having to sack the manager, the chief executive must take some blame.
Well, this time they went placating the fans, though, didn't they, with Henning Berg? They thought, all right, we'll get rid of Steve Keane now. Bizarrely, at a time when it was going relatively well for Keane. And then they bring the fans Henning Berg and say, here you are, this is your man. This is the right appointment now. We're giving the fans what they want. And, of course, that hasn't worked out. But nothing surprises me that happens at Blackburn. I mean, I hear people say it was a real shock, 57 days. But the way the Indians organised Blackburn, anything's possible, so it wasn't a huge shock to me.
Yeah, it was a strange appointment, because he just said previously in the year, he said anyone who takes that job must be mad. Well, he's found out firsthand. Let's have a look and see what he actually said when he received the news today. He was pretty shocked, as you can imagine. He said, "It goes without saying that I'm bitterly disappointed to have been relieved of my managerial duties at Ewood Park after just 57 days since my appointment. At this stage, I would just like to release a short statement thanking the Blackburn Rovers fans for their incredible support during my time in charge. I have always enjoyed a fantastic relationship with them, dating back to my playing days, where we shared some great memories. It was an honour for me to manage a club that's so close to my heart, and I now wish all of them every success for the rest of the season and beyond." I'm assuming that this decision has nothing to do with his performance at the Christmas party when he refused to stand on stage and look a bit of an idiot.
No, I don't think it had anything to do with that. I wonder how many of the players are involved in it as well, because nowadays, and it's the wrong thing for the chief executive to do, chairman to, they go and talk to senior players on occasions. How's the manager doing? Are the players responding? Has he lost the dressing room? And if the players don't like the manager, they'll be the first people to say, no, it's not really working. But the players get the managers out pretty quickly now.
But we have this thing, well, they don't understand the culture of the English game or whatever. The thing is, they don't care about the culture of the English game. They take a club and they say, well, we'll do what we want. But Abramovich doesn't really care about the culture of the English game either. He sacks managers willy-nilly, but he's also won trophies as well. They do it how they want to do it, and we just have to accept it, I'm afraid. It's no good saying it's not
well,
not
I
how we do it
understand
here.
that rumour about the Venkies was true, that when they took over, they did not know there was relegation from the Premier League, which seems incredible. Speak to a fan. Mikey Delap joins us now. He's a Blackburn Rovers fan. Hello, Mike. Can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely fine. How's it going?
Oh, going very well. Were you shocked at this news or not really?
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't say that I was shocked in the slightest. In fact, I think it's actually been on the cards for a little bit. I think it's getting to the stage now of the Championship where we're entering the bit where the teams sort themselves out and the league sorts itself out, and there's a very lucrative prize at the end of it. So I think this is the sort of the last roll of the dice. So yeah, it actually in a very, very strange way makes sense to get rid of him now with the January window. The transfer window coming up shortly. It's just a case of making the right decision now, although I can't say I've got complete faith in the owners to do that.
Yeah, what is the fans' relationship with the owners like?
Well, I obviously can't swear very much on air, I'm guessing, but it's not brilliant. It's probably the easiest way to sum it up is it's been a misuse of or abuse of fan trust over the last 2 years. It seems to have lurched from one disaster, bad decision to another. It's difficult to summarise into a few sentences, really.
And what about the relationship with Henning Berg? He seemed to think it was quite good with the fans.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I would like to think that the majority of fans, or certainly most fans, would not look at his managerial reign and use it to tarnish the respect that we had for him from his playing days. He's very well thought of at Ewood Park, and just one bad run as a manager doesn't change that. He's he's well liked, and by all accounts quite a nice guy as well.
So what was he getting wrong on the field? What was the change in style or system as opposed to Steve Keane? I mean, Steve Keane had them near the top of the table when he left.
Yeah, I mean, he did, I suppose. Yeah, I'm loath to give him too much credit for very obvious reasons, but he's I mean, with Berg, I think he tried a little bit more to try and use wingers, which we weren't using a lot of beforehand, and putting a little bit more emphasis on trying to use the midfielders to bring more attacking players into play. I don't think it worked. I think we're actually probably 3 or 4 good players away from being able to play the style of play that he wanted us to play. If anything, he probably should have borrowed a page out of Eric Black's book, who was the caretaker manager before him, who built a more solid foundation through using the defence. If he'd have carried on doing that, I'd imagine he might have had a better run at things.
Who the bookmakers think is going to take over from Henning Berg? You mentioned Tim Sherwood, or he was mentioned. He's actually the 4th favourite at 12-1. Kevin McDonald is the odds-on favourite. He was at Aston Villa, of course. Mark Hughes at 5-1. Then Simon Grayson at 10-1. Shaun O'Driscoll from Forest is 14-1. Kenny Dalglish, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer 16s, and Alan Shearer, ex-Blackburn championship winning captain, of course. Alan Shearer 20-1. Who else on that list takes your fancy, Mikey?
Well, personally, I mean, this was my first choice when the job first became available after Keane. I was pushing for the likes of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, which seems strange considering he's Norwegian and relatively inexperienced. I'm sure that rings a bell by now. If not, personally, I'd like Mark Hughes back. But whether he'd considered the job under the current conditions, working conditions, is debatable. Other than that, none of those on the list particularly appeal to me. But at the end of the day, the fans, we don't really get a say in it. Whatever happens, as a group of fans, we're just going to have to try and pick ourselves back up again and get behind whoever they decide, which is difficult, but it's just something you've got to do, really.
Tom Evans is a Blackburn Rovers fan as well. I think he joins us now. Hello, Tom.
Hello there.
Hello. Who would you like to see take over?
It's a difficult one because there's a lot that's been talked about at the moment. I think Kevin McDonald would be an awful selection just simply because he doesn't have the experience as a manager, and this goes right back to when Sam Allardyce was sacked. The Blackburn fans didn't want a former player to come in that had no managerial experience. They wanted an experienced manager. Getting rid of Sam Allardyce was the first big blunder, and Kevin Keane wasn't the right choice. We've lived through that. Then we've gone down the route of Henning Berg. That obviously hasn't worked. So you think they would learn and pick an experienced manager, either an experienced Premier League manager or an experienced Championship manager. The only name that leaps to my mind is Mark Hughes with his complete backroom team, but he needs to be given the scope to make the decisions, which is not completely what I think.
Have you any idea why Kevin McDonald is such a keen favourite?
I don't know. I mean, they were talking about replacing Eric Black as assistant manager to give Henning Berg a new lease of life as manager. But I got the impression that they didn't want to hire McDonald because they didn't want to hire somebody only to have to sack them because they were already considering Henning Berg. And I wonder somewhat whether McDonald's name's been thrust forward because he was linked with the assistant manager's job. But from what I've heard over the last few hours, they're considering him as manager, which is quite frankly pathetic.
Yeah, I think Kevin McDonald is now 4-9 favourite because they talked to him, frankly. So that's where the odds tend to come down.
It might be a big bet somewhere.
The odds tend to come down with that, and it looks like he's going to be the man who's going to be in charge. Whether it's going to be long term or not, that's another question. But at the moment, they've certainly talked to him.
Yeah, and just a point that I made earlier on to Mikey. Do you feel that Blackburn could get to the playoffs or not?
I think we're more in a relegation fight at the moment. We're only 7 points off the relegation zone. In the last 10 games, we've won 1 and drawn 3. I think that people need to get this idea of promotion well and truly out of their head. We're in a relegation fight and we could be in League One next season. And I'm not saying that as a melodramatic Blackburn Rovers fan. I'm saying it from a point of view of the team looks completely disjointed and I have absolutely no faith in the owners to appoint a manager who can come in with the experience and get us playing the way we need to be with the players that we've got.
Russell has joined us now on the telephone. He's a Blackburn fan. He's just rung in to give us his view. Henning Berg has gone. What do you make of that decision, and what do you make of who might take over?
A bit shocked, to be honest. I mean, I thought Berg would have been given a lot more time than what he was given. Obviously, he's a former player. He's our championship winning captain. So obviously a bit gutted about it, but I can see where the club's coming from. He's on a very bad decline at the moment. We need somebody with a bit more experience to come in and run it.
Did you think that Henning Berg was the right sort of replacement for Steve Keane?
At the time, no. I mean, Steve Keane is a good coach. I was one of the very few that probably actually supported his appointment. We gave him time. After maybe about 16, 17 months, I gave up and I refused to go to the games because he was destroying the club. Again, he's a good coach, but he's not a manager, and it's the exact same as Henning Berg, unfortunately.